Welcome back to Your Mental Health Mentor YouTube channel. My name is Katie and I am your mental health mentor. Today we are talking about hydration and the brain. And we're asking the question, how does the water we drink impact our mental health? Now, if you know me, you know that I have a brain injury. I have had post-concussion syndrome for the last 7 years, and I have gone down some pretty interesting rabbit holes. But I must say, hydration is my favorite one. So grab your water and your notebook and get ready for some value. All right, you could be feeling exhausted, unfocused, drained and stressed, and be trying to solve that by working on your mental health. But did you know that low energy, stress, brain fog, and the inability to focus are all symptoms of dehydration? So before we start looking inward to our inner worlds and our minds, I thought it would be super important to talk today about the relation between our bodies and our physical brain. As water beings, we're all made up of majority water. So it makes sense that this is the first place that we look when we're talking about the physical organ, the brain. Your brain itself is made up of nearly 75% water, which means the physical state of your brain relies on hydration to properly think, feel, and function. Remember, our brains don't exist separately from our bodies. So there are physical factors influencing our mental health. So our physical hydration impacts our brain function, and our brain function impacts our mental experience. Dehydration doesn't just make you thirsty. Your brain notices even the slightest bit of water that it's missing, even just 1%. So when you see changes in your memory, your focus, your mood, alertness, and your cognitive performance, you could just need more high quality water in your life. When we lack energy and we're physically depleted, everything within our mental health can just feel harder. When we lack concentration and our attention is all over the place, it makes it harder for us to be present. When we're stressed and mentally tapped, it often removes our ability to respond rather than react. When our mood is low, it becomes easier for us to fall back into unhealthy thinking patterns. So when our brains aren't functioning at their best, it becomes a challenge for us to just simply think, remember, focus, and make decisions. Now, I'm not saying that dehydration can cause mental health disorders or that water alone can heal things like depression and anxiety. Mental health as a whole is way more complex, but hydration is one of the most important physical factors that can influence how our brain is functioning. And your brain is involved in everything that you experience mentally. Let's flip the script for a second. How does your mental health affect your hydration? The quality of your mental health can most definitely affect your basic physical behaviors. When you're overwhelmed, anxious, distracted, depressed, exhausted, or you just have a busy or chaotic mind space, you might not even stop to think about feeding yourself, sleeping properly, moving your body, or even drinking water. So now we have our mental state impacting our physical habits. We have our physical habits impacting our physical state. Our physical state is impacting our brain function, and your brain function is impacting your mental experience. All right, this next question has been buzzing lately. Does the type of water matter? Now, I'm not going to turn this video into a comparison of all of the waters on the market, but there are a few things worth understanding when you're thinking about the quality of the water that you're drinking. Here is what I believe to be the 4 most important factors. 1, if your water is clean. 2, what the pH of your water is. 3, the antioxidant potential. And 4, the hydration efficiency. Let's talk about the cleanliness. Before your brain can benefit from water, it needs to make sure that it's safe to drink. Depending on the source, water can contain things like bacteria, heavy metals, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, chemicals like chlorine and arsenic, and other contaminants. And your brain is particularly vulnerable to these contaminants because some can actually interfere with the way your brain communicates and functions, which can ultimately affect your mood, cognition, and mental well-being. Next is the pH. So your water can be acidic, neutral, or alkaline. But what does that mean for the brain? Measuring the pH tells you how acidic or alkaline something is. And water can have different pH levels depending on its source, minerals, and even its packaging. Now, when it comes to alkaline water, there is typically this debate on whether it's good or bad for you. And here's the secret. Your water shouldn't have an ingredients list. If you're using bottled alkaline water, you can flip it over and read the ingredients list on the bottle. You're probably gonna see something called sodium bicarbonate, which is kind of like baking soda. Drinking this as your main source of hydration, not good for you. But there is naturally alkalized water out there. So if you're drinking water that got its alkalinity from minerals or electricity, then that can be good for you. Now, if you're drinking acidic water every day, your body can be too acidic, which can directly impact how the brain functions, mainly the clarity, alertness, and cognition. All right, next we have the antioxidant potential. Your brain uses a huge amount of energy, and that creates something that your body has to constantly manage. It's called oxidative stress. When your cells use oxygen to create energy, they naturally produce molecules that can damage cells if there's too many of them. So your body uses antioxidants to help keep those molecules under control. Oxidative stress has been directly linked to brain health and mental health conditions like depression. So it's super important to drink water that has a powerfully negative oxidation reduction potential. And number 4, hydration efficiency. This water talk is making me thirsty. So your cells don't just need water around them. They need to maintain the right water balance both around them and inside them. Here's a really cool fact for you. Water is constantly moving in and out of brain cells, and your brain has specialized water channels called aquaporins, and these help regulate that movement. So when we're talking about hydration efficiency, we have to look at whether or not the water that you're drinking is supporting that process on a cellular level, because your brain relies on this constant water balance to maintain regular neural function. So when you're lacking hydration, it's more likely that the things like your attention, mood, and overall cognition will be impacted. So the reason I am throwing all of this sciencey information at you today is because the brain is a physical organ. It needs oxygen, nutrients, sleep, and hydration. So if we can give our brains the best possible physical environment, we allow it to do the incredibly complex job of thinking, feeling, remembering, focusing, and regulating. My name is Katie. I am your mental health mentor. Again, thank you so much for choosing to grow with me. Go drink some water, and I will see you next Mental Health Monday.